welcome to my bed. I'm coming to you today from my snuggly little warm bed. First, because it's cold and rainy and going to snow tomorrow where I live, and it's just one of those days you feel like snuggling up in your bed. And two, because it goes directly to the point of what I'm going to tell you today. But we'll get to that. Well, in a couple of days, we are going to have a very strong portal open up. It is the 12-12-12 because 2019 adds up to 12 portal. And on December 12th, 2019, it is also a full moon. So some serious energy going on there. And for those of you who may be drawn to this video, whenever you're drawn to this video, though it is a 12-12 portal video, maybe it's a hindsight thing for you that you can recognize if you read it after or listen to it after the 12-12 portal. But for those of you who are guided to this particular video, you've been awakening. You've been going through some serious stuff in 2019. And that's not to say that it's negative stuff. Just intense spiritual activity has been happening. And I know it surely has for me. And just new insights, all kinds of things have been going on. So please give me a comment down below if there's an amen to that in your life. I could go on and write a whole book just about all the weird crap that has gone on in 2019. Good ways, bad ways, and most of all, just, I know we're not supposed to say weird, but weird ways. So, Spirit guided me to talk to you today. They kind of were bugging me a lot today. So I figured I will just sit here in my bed, all cozy, and talk to you guys directly. So, we have 3 messages from Spirit they want me to get out. Number 1, probably this week and going into you're going to feel, I'm sorry to tell you, very triggered. Now, triggering doesn't necessarily mean a negative thing because you can be triggered in a positive way, but your emotions are going to be triggered a lot. Now we are in the holiday season. We do feel a lot of joy and, the gift of giving and, being together with family and things like that. So that can definitely trigger some very positive emotions. What Spirit wants you to know is that your emotions may seem or feel a little more than is appropriate. And that's not a judgment call. And they don't want you to judge it. They just want you to be aware of it. Like, wow, I don't normally cry when my grandmom comes over because I see her at least once a week. Or, I don't normally ooh and ah over the turkey at Christmas dinner, but this is amazing. Just notice those things. But also be aware that you could be triggered in the negative as well. There's one particular training that I'm asked to give a few times a year. We talk about how everybody on the planet has negative, or I won't even say negative, undesired behaviors. And all of those behaviors are triggered by 2 emotions. The first emotion, which in my workshop I would ask you to answer, is anger, and the second is fear, or the other way around. Doesn't really matter. And what I usually do is I have the whole room go around and say what triggers their fear and what triggers their anger. And what usually happens is the room goes from people who don't want to sit there in a workshop or a training to a group of people who are now enjoying each other's company and feeling close to each other and sharing some deep internal things. But what we get out of all of that is how do we deal with those emotions? How do we deal with it when we're triggered? What do we do? And then the next comment I make is the children we work with don't have those devices. We call them tools that you put in the toolbox. So we may deal with something that makes us very angry or something we're very fearful of by working out or riding a bike or meditating or screaming into a pillow. And that's not usually the case. Those coping mechanisms haven't been taught to many of the children that we work with. And why does Spirit want me to tell you about this? Because when you're being triggered in the next few weeks because of this intense energy, other people will be affected by it too. And what they want you to recognize is, number one, what is triggering your emotions in other people? Number two, what are your tools in your toolbox? What do you do to manage it? Is the thing you do a positive thing, or is the thing you do a negative thing? And when I say that, I'm not judging. In your opinion, is it something that is positive that helps your life, or is it something negative that maybe isn't the best thing for your life? Okay? They want you to notate that, maybe write it down in your journal, something like that. And the third thing they want you to do about that is to notice in others who are triggering you, to step back and see in yourself what they're triggering in you, why they're triggering it in you, but also to recognize and understand that they might not have the same tools you have in your toolbox. And that they want you to then realize, are you being guided to assist others on the planet to putting those tools into their toolbox? Okay? Are you being guided to teach healthy habits? Are you being guided to spread mindfulness awareness or compassion in some way, or to educate, or to provide therapy, or whatever it might be? Notice what your role on this planet might be, and is it connected with assisting others to awaken? Okay, because we're all awakening, whether people want to believe it or not. I know some people think, I'm awakening, other people aren't awakening, but I'm awakening, and there's only a few of us on the planet that are. That's not true. We're all awakening. We are all one consciousness, so we're all awakening. The difference is we all have different layers of our ego that still haven't been purged. And we still have some learning to do. So, with compassion and understanding, recognize that we are all awakening, and that just as painful as for you to be purging parts of your ego, and that doesn't mean destroying the ego. We're purging parts of our ego, and in 2019 you've probably been experiencing that a lot. Just recognize that you're not the only one. So when you're noticing what's being triggered in you, who's triggering it in you, and why they're triggering it in you, also take the time to notice maybe why are they being triggered, or how can you help them to put some tools in that toolbox to learn how to cope and purge themselves. And that leads me to the second thing Spirit wants you to know. While you're being triggered, there's a reason. There's a reason it's going to be really strong right now, right before the new year. And that's because you're purging. As I just said, everybody's purging. Well, you're kind of purging on a larger scale right now. And if you've done a whole lot of purging this 2019 and you're thinking, good Lord, I possibly can't purge anymore. I don't think I could take it. One more dark night of the soul. Right? It doesn't have to be that way. You have done a lot of work. And I'm not saying that if you are in a more depressed state or something like that, that you aren't in a dark night of the soul, or that isn't how it's going to come out. But notice purging isn't just the horrible, awful things that we're getting rid of. It's also things that we're attached to that maybe are too material, things that boost our ego. So you might be triggered and purging at work because because you don't feel you're getting enough accolades, but yet you keep doing more and more and more work and no appreciation. So that's going to trigger a response that you're going to purge. So you see how it doesn't have to be the, throwing yourself on the floor crying and rolling around and rocking in a corner kind of purging. It can be the kind that you just need to recognize and say, oh, that's what's happening. That's why things seem a little bit more intense. Why does it seem like I'm working so much and I'm being completely ignored? Or why are my children off the hook? Beyond the normal Christmas off the hook. But why are they driving me so crazy this week or next week? Like I said, beyond the normal Christmas thing, your reaction might be a little bit stronger. And that's what Spirit wants you to know. You're being triggered. And that is for the purpose of purging the last little bit. We are about to come into a crazy time. It's going to be awesome. We are truly awakening, but we got a little work to do. This is nothing to have anxiety over. It's just an awareness. The other part of that awareness that they want you to have is that you may be triggered into doing your more habitual things, habits, addictions. And when I say addictions, it could be serious, real addictions like alcohol or drugs or gambling, things like that. It very well could be those kind of things that you're triggered, these compulsive behaviors. You're going to feel a compulsion to do. But it also can be silly things. I shouldn't say silly. More trivial things like eating chocolate or this isn't trivial, but it's not as bad as a severe addiction, but smoking cigarettes or weed or whatever else. Just know that your sex, shopping, biting your nails, okay, those little weird compulsory things that have really nothing to do with the action and more to do with a satiation or self-soothing within yourself that needs to happen. I'm not saying you're going to fall off the wagon. I'm not saying that anything like that is going to happen. I'm saying notice that you're going to feel the urge for those things. So you may have complete control over your compulsory behaviors, but and we all have them. This is not pinpointing every single solitary human being on the earth has some kind of compulsory behavior that self-soothes them, whether it's in a positive, healthy way, a neutral, doesn't matter either way, or a harmful way. And what Spirit's telling you is right now, because of this energy, you're going to feel that. You may notice, like, I quit smoking 10 years ago. Why do I have an urge for a cigarette? Or I've been doing so great on this diet. I knew I could get through the holidays, but oh my God, today, if I could just have one piece of chocolate. Something like that, okay? It's that kind of thing. Not that you won't be able to control it or anything like that. It's just, it's going to be there. So there's an actual reason for it. And it does have to do with the intensity of this energy. So, your assignment from Spirit is, when you feel these things happening, when you feel the triggering happening, when you feel compulsory behaviors cropping up on you, or the desire to act on a compulsory behavior creep up on you, they want you to write it down. They want you to write down the situation, your feelings around the situation, and what your desire to do is. Okay? Is it to punch somebody in the face? Is it to run away and scream? Is it to shovel 1,000 Hershey Kisses down your face? What is the strange desire that's coming up? Okay, even it doesn't have to be a strange desire. What's coming up for you? Then, this is important. Once you've put it out there on paper, they want you to recognize that you've now purged that. Okay, you've purged that propensity, and there shouldn't be any need to go any further. They're telling you, I'm not telling you, I mean, I'm telling you because they're telling me, but they're telling you that when you write it down, you're getting it out of yourself. That is going to be healing for you. They're going to help you with that. Okay, I wouldn't doubt that you notice, within an hour, like, which would not be normal if it was true compulsory behavior being stimulated by something, that it just goes away. But they want you to write it down. That's part of the process. Then, once you've written it down, they want you to forgive yourself. You can say it out loud. You can write it down next to it. I forgive myself. That's it. I forgive myself, and I love myself. Say your name if you need to. I forgive you, Nicki. I love you, Nicki. Move on to the next thing. Go about your day. Honestly, even if it's keeping a little tablet of paper in your work bag or your pocketbook or next to you on the seat in the car, your back pocket, just so you can get it out of you. I don't know why that's a particular message that they want to get out, but they want you to write it down. Then, this was a weird one, and I didn't know that if I wanted to share it with you, but I guess if it's a really bad one, they want you to embrace yourself. I thought maybe that was a figurative thing, but I'm kind of thinking they mean it very literally, which, I don't know, hug yourself. Can't hurt, right? I mean, if you're at work or in the mall or somewhere, you might not want to do that. Maybe you could just do it in your head, but that was a strange guidance that they gave. But they wanted me to put it out there, and I wasn't allowed to change the message because I've done that before, and they said I'm not allowed to do that because, I don't know what part of the message is important and what's not, and I don't know who's getting it or why they need to hear that particular thing. So I won't do that. So, if you can remember, when you're moving on with your day, every minute is a new choice. Every minute is a new choice. So, if you follow through with the compulsory behavior, say you've been on a diet for 6 months, you've done awesome, you can't touch a Snickers bar, and you got a Snickers bar and you ate it. Forgive myself. Move past it and recognize that that was a choice you made 10 minutes ago or a minute ago. It no longer exists. It no longer exists. Move on to your next choice. Now you can make a different choice. Okay? So if the urge comes again in an hour, tell yourself, no, I'm making a different choice. You're aware, you recognize you did it, you recognize that it's not the best thing for you, and this time of year is going to be the hardest, believe me, because you got all Christmas cookies and all kinds of stuff that you're not supposed to be around is going to be around you. I'm not saying that everyone's on a diet, but just so you know, forgive yourself, write it down. Every minute is a new choice. Every minute is a new choice. Okay? So, there's no beating yourself up. There's no sitting or doing wrong. You move past it, and you choose differently in the next minute, and the next minute, and the next minute. And if it takes making choices from minute to minute until you're just chill and calm and don't feel the need to be triggered, then do it that way. But if you don't, and you can just forgive yourself, move on, make a different choice, finish out the rest of your day. That's awesome too. They just want you to know that this is going to be coming up, and there's a strong reason why. If this does keep happening, okay, throughout the next few weeks before the new year starts, we're in a strong portal energy. It's going to stick around for a bit longer than the full moon or the 12-12 portal, just because it's strong and there's crazy shifts happening. Crazy shifts are happening. If you watch my videos, you will see me say crazy shifts are happening all the time, because it astounds me at what's going on and how fast it's happening, and that we're aware of it, you know, like it, and it's positive, like it's a good shift, it's excellent shift. Excuse me, I made this pottery place. Ways that you can fix this, okay, if it keeps happening: meditation, self-contracting. If you feel yourself continuing to have these anxious needs, and you're just not feeling right about yourself, or you can't get out of this energy that's happening, you just can't. Self-contracting, what that is you do need to write it down again, and you just make a new promise to yourself of what you're going to do. Make a new promise to the universe. Write down a goal. And I know we're about to come into the season where we're doing New Year's resolutions, but it's a little bit different. This is a self-contract to continue a forward momentum, so we don't lose the velocity that we're moving at. It's a promise to the self. It's an actual physical contract. I don't mean type it up and get a notary to stamp it. I just write it down somewhere, so it's physical. You can see it, you can read it. Put it on your mirror where you'll see it, you know, put it on your steering wheel from a post-it. Just a promise to yourself. I'm not going to allow the little things to bother me today, or everything is working out in my favor. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm abundant in always. Little affirmations. Those are contracts too. Self-contract. You keep saying it to yourself, saying it to yourself, saying it to yourself. When you feel triggered in the moment, whether it be by a person or a song or whatever it might be, notice about yourself what's happening. Step back from yourself. Take a deep breath. Unconditional love. You don't have to say I love you. Lord knows we don't want to say that to our bosses, but just unconditional love. Gratitude. Gratitude that I didn't attack just now. Okay? Something like that. That's going to help you change that mindset. It is not easy, and it does take work, and it's baby steps. And Spirit really wants you to know that it is baby steps. Okay? Awakening is not, you know, like, I mean, think about in the morning when you get up. Do you just, I'm awake, and you can sit there and jump right into, you don't have to shower, you don't have to do, just, I'm awake. No, it's a process to awakening. You have a routine you go through in the morning. The alarm clock may jar you a little bit. You kind of stagger. You got to wipe your eyes. You got to brush your teeth. You know, how long does it take before you're actually awake in the morning? Right? And that's just from normal sleep. It's this awakening process. And it could take years. It does take years. I think for most of us, we've probably been awakening for a long time and just didn't recognize it because it was a slower progression. And now, because of these cosmic shifts and whatever the universe has going on and what they're getting us ready for, what's about to happen, it's forcing us to awaken a little bit faster. And there's a lot of us who are just more aware of what's happening than others. And it really is our responsibility to kind of help others who are feeling it too. When you see people overly aggressive for no reason that you can, you know, directly affect, that you can directly help. I'm not saying jump in between a fight between two people unless that's your job, but, You know, if you can calm them down, you know, use those instincts, use the gifts that you've been given as an awakened person, as a more awakened person, and help someone else who's also going through the process and is probably completely unaware of what they're going through. The second part of the message is you're awakening, which I just kind of said. You're evolving, you're activating. If you're called on a spiritual path, it's not a time of ego. It's not a time to say, well, I'm a star seed, or I'm a light worker. I'm, you know, one of the way showers or whatever. Those are all wonderful things that we can identify with, but they're not something to hold ourselves on some kind of pedestal with. If anything, if you're someone who is guided to this path, to this journey, it's the opposite. You're supposed to be the least egotistical. You're supposed to be the most selfless and giving. Right? It's important if you truly identify with those titles. You cannot put yourself above other people, or you really need to get out of the idea, if you're feeling this way, that you're something more special than someone else because, well, they don't understand these things, or they don't come from the plebeian constellation or Vega. First of all, none of us here can prove that without a doubt. Number two, so what? That's like saying, well, I'm from Texas, so I'm better. People from Texas like to say that. I have family from Texas, so I'm allowed to say that. You know, I'm better than everyone else because I'm from Texas. Well, no, you're not, you know. Or people from Aruba are better because the environment's nicer there and it's warm and everybody's nice to everybody. No, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter where your cosmic self is from. We're all from one self, one consciousness. And it's really, really important that you recognize that and really work on healing that part of your ego. The need to feel separate, because we're not. And Spirit really wants us to understand that. This need to be separate is ridiculous to them. But yeah, we identify that way. So bask in and relish the unity and the ability and the gift that you've been given by Source, by the Divine, to assist others in reconnecting and feeling that unity too. Let it humble you that you've been chosen to have that awareness. Let it seep into your heart and just glow and expand with that love, because you've been given a gift. And that's all it is. It's a gift to be a little bit more awakened. And all of us are pretty darn still sleeping compared to where we should be and where we could be. But this is a special time, and we are awakening for the first time in God knows how long. Maybe since the missing link, or when, I don't even know. You're awakening. Downloads will be happening. Spirit is speaking to you. And you're going to have some serious pushes or impulses to some pretty awesome things. The downloads, how do you know they're happening? The triggering, that's kind of part of it, because when the triggering is happening, that's why they think they want you to write down what's going on too, because it's connected to the parts of you that are being purged, and the light codes are now able to come in. If you hear ringing in your ears or buzzing or music when there's no music playing, that's angelic downloading happening. Also, if you find you're losing time and or getting dazed, things like that. Now, I want to put a little precursor in there, or not a precursor, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but a little addendum. If you do feel these things and there are other symptoms attached to them, please do seek medical attention first before you decide, oh, it's just my awakening. Because you might actually have a medical problem. Because a lot of times, symptoms from spirit can also be actual medical problems. So I do not want to dissuade you if you feel the need to go to a medical doctor. Please do. Just know that, it might not be tinnitus. If you're hearing ringing in your ears, it actually could be angelic downloading. Okay? So, but please, if it's something serious, I don't want you to also just run to the doctor because you start getting ringing in your ears. Just know that's a thing, okay? Spirit speaking to you. So, TV shows and movie, the themes of them. You're going to start seeing, like, that's weird. You'll notice themes of TV shows, movies, things you're watching, documentaries that are going to correspond to your awakening and your purpose. When I say your purpose, I mean what you feel driven to do on this planet in this process of awakening in this time. Songs that feel like they're directly telling you a message, or you'll be thinking about something or just having a conversation and a song comes on that completely corresponds. It's like spiritual smartphones. You know how you'll be in a restaurant on your phone and then all of a sudden it'll come up in your feed, that restaurant. You're like, that's weird. Okay, we know what that is. That's all our spies and the internet and stuff, and through our cell phones. But this is like a spiritual version of that, where spirit's letting you know, we hear you, okay, and we're here, and your synchronicities, your numbers, things like that, of course. But it's like a little bit more. You'll be noticing it in the next week or two. You're gonna be just feeling more in sync with everything. You're gonna have songs that bring up memories, and watch TV shows that you haven't seen in years that might remind you of passed on loved ones, and that's them. It's because they're in that energy, and as we awaken, as we rise to it, we're kind of flowing in an energy with them too, and so it's wonderful, and you can feel them. We're all mediums. Remember, we are all mediums. Just some of us have taken more time to practice it, and so when you feel a passed on loved one near you, they are near you. Okay, they are with you. They are with you in this process, absolutely. And then the push or impulse. The push or impulse is to change something significant about your life, and it's coming directly from the universe, source, or God, whatever you want to call it. You might want to start a side practice of spiritual work, take classes for Reiki, meditation, learn about tarot, developing your psychic gifts, things like that. You may want to leave your current job, or feel the need to leave your current job for your side gig in some spiritual practice. You may feel the need to go back to school for a new career. Maybe that takes a pay cut, so you're thinking, why would I do that? Healing field. You may begin a spiritual practice out of the ordinary. Maybe, you don't normally pray before you go to bed at night, and all of a sudden you feel the need to pray every night or every morning before you come in. You may have a strong urge to go to church or do anything related to the divine. Spiritual traditions and practices that you may have done as a child, you might feel the need to do. All kinds of things like that. You're gonna feel it, and those of you who it started for, you know what I'm talking about. You may start spontaneously singing. Someone who doesn't normally sing, definitely you don't sing out loud or around other people. You may find yourself just singing all the time. That is spirit. You may feel overwhelming feelings of joy and love and contentedness, and just a connection to other people and the planet and animals for no reason. And I'm not talking because of the Christmas spirit, or you saw a Hallmark card video or commercial, or somebody did something. I'm talking just out of the blue, or when wonderful things do happen, because during the holiday seasons, people tend to do awesome, wonderful, kind things, but maybe your reaction to it is a little bit more than you normally would have. And then, what they want you to know, this is your time. This is your time. You're about to blast off into the stratosphere. 2020 is going to rock your world. Okay? You are going to experience such insights, and your spiritual awakening is just going to be accelerated and just blast off. And it won't be easy all the time, because all developmental processes are painful. Think about growing pains, your bones hurt, your muscles hurt, so that will happen, but you just think of where you'll be when it's over. They said it will be a whirlwind. You'll feel like it goes really fast, like time is sped up, and you probably have already started to feel that in the last few years, like, wow. So, what they want you to do, because there's a lot of work ahead of you, okay? And there's a lot of work to be done, and it's going to be tiring, and it's a lot, but it's a very, 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 very good thing. It's very positive. You're going to be pushed to do things you never would have done. You're going to have courage like you've never had. This is an awesome time, and it's very exciting, and it's fun, and there's no turning back from it. So right now, because there's no turning back from it, Spirit's next advice of the 3 things, it is your time. So right now, in this 12/12 portal energy, in this full moon energy, in this time of craziness, the guidance I've been getting for the last few weeks is to be introspective, to kind of go within, not introvert yourself, not cloister yourself, just notice you, pamper you, take care of you. But most of all, they want you to enjoy this season. Even if you don't normally enjoy the holiday season for whatever reason, find reasons to enjoy it. Find things to do that make you happy. Go back to childhood things and experience them, even if you don't have kids. Go see the lights down the street, drive down the street, and look at all the lights in the neighborhood like you used to do when you were a kid. Make holiday cookies, even if you have no one to make them for, unless of course that's your compulsory behavior thing and you want to stay away from it. So maybe you want to share them with others, but you want to bake cookies. Just do something that really puts you in the spirit of this time of giving and love and joy, and enjoy it. They want you to enjoy it. They don't want you to worry about buying gifts. They don't want you to worry about getting out to the stores. And I know you have to do those things, or you feel you have to do those things, but when you do them, step back from yourself, notice your triggers, write it down, and let it roll off your back. Who cares? You're going to get the presents bought. You're going to get the things wrapped. You're going to get the food made. You're going to get the cards out. You are. You got to let that stuff go. You got to let it go. You'll do it when you do it, because you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's what Spirit wants you to know. You're in for a crazy, awesome, amazing ride in the year to come. They just want you to sit and relish in the joy of being around the people you love in a beautiful season. Enjoy the weather, whatever weather you might have, whether it's warm or cold like it is here. Enjoy the season. Stay safe. Love each other. Help each other put those tools in their toolbox. And get ready to blast off into the stratosphere for some awesome stuff to come. All right? Have a wonderful week. I'm so glad I got to talk to you again this week. And I will talk to you next week with our weekly guidance. All right? Big hugs and lots of love.